let's get into our first conversation for tonight. And it dates back to yesterday when the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, met with the federal government. Well, no resolution was reached from that meeting, and it is unclear if the NLC will go ahead with a strike come Friday. That's when the 21-day ultimatum given by the NLC earlier this month will lapse. Well, then today, the Trade Union Congress held a separate meeting with the Minister of Labour, Simon Lalong, and the Minister of State, Nkuruka Yejocha, after the meeting could not hold yesterday when it was originally scheduled. Now, the TUC team was led by its president, Comrade Festus Osifo. The TUC has its own set of demands, or at least resolutions being worked on with the government. How much progress has been made? What has the TUC been able to negotiate for the Nigerian workers whom they represent, and by extension, for Nigerians? We'll be speaking with Comrade Festus Osifo on the program tonight to get more insight into what played out in that meeting. Not forgetting the fact that we spoke with the NLC president, Comrade Joe Ajero, yesterday, and he raised some fundamental issues about the relationship between the NLC and the TUC, whom, we had known as organized labor. So let's go over to Abuja studio, where Comrade Festus Osifo joins us live this evening after that meeting which the union had with the federal government earlier today. It's good to have you on the program, Comrade. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kayode. Good evening, and good evening, viewers.
Well, let's begin with the outcome of today's meeting. Let's tell Nigerians, because the 2 weeks which the TUC gave the federal government is meant to have elapsed today. It was given on the 5th. Today is the 19th. So what is the outcome of that meeting you had with the federal government?
Okay, thank you so much, Kayode. If you could remember vividly that we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and that meeting we had 2 weeks ago, so it's a continuation of a series of engagement that the leadership of Trade Union Congress have been having with the federal government. So at this particular time, we had a meeting with the Honorable Minister of Labour as well as the Honorable Minister of State for Labour. So we had the engagement 2 weeks ago, and during that engagement, so we brought further all the issues that we have been advocating. We have been advocating these issues from day one when the subsidy was removed. So we brought the issues forward. So that was 2 weeks ago. So during that conversation, so the Minister of Labour said that, okay, as at that time, that the president was not around, that there is a memo that he has prepared, that they want to present that memo before the Federal Executive Council. And from his estimation, that if you take about 2 weeks from that time for Federal Executive Council meeting to hold, and that during the FEC meeting, that a presentation will be made, and that he assured us that he was going to get back to us. So we said, okay, that was fine, but that we don't just hold meetings and we will go to bed and be waiting. So within that 2 weeks, we have been having some sideline engagement. At a time, sometime last week, we also wrote a letter to the Minister of Labour. So in that letter that we wrote, we clearly explained some of the issues around taxation, how tax holiday could be given to the people that are the low-income earners. So we did that letter last week, and we followed it up at 12. So today was for an update. Yesterday they actually invited us, but the invite came a bit late, so some of our national officers, they weren't around in Abuja. So we told them that we will not be able to engage that yesterday because we need some of our key officers to be available. So today they all came. So we all went to that meeting today, and they gave us the update. What was the update that they gave to us? That yes, that between that 2 weeks and now, when we had that engagement, that the Minister of Labour, has had an audience with the president himself, the president, as well as the Minister of Finance and the coordinating minister for the economy, that they all met, and that they have reviewed the issue of wage award. That they have looked, because that was topmost on our demand, that they have reviewed the issue of wage award, and that there was something the president asked them to fine-tune and to get back to him. That the president actually asked himself and the Minister of Finance to fine-tune so that he can make the announcement. but that wasn't possible before the president left on Sunday. And that also, that the other issues we raised are issues around what is going to happen to today, the federal workers. Then even the pronouncement the president has made relating to MSMEs, where are we on them? What has been done regarding that? Then we also said to them in the last meeting that some monies has been released to states. What is the effective mechanism with which that will be monitored? That on our own, we will try our best to see that, to the implementation of that any of the governors that we could see that is diverting, we will shout. But beyond the shouting that the Labour is going to do, as federal government that released the money, where is the template of implementation? How are you going to monitor the implementation? So we also raised that. Then we also raised issues around taxation. We also raised issues around CNG. So we raised all these in that meeting. So he now said that he has had engagement with the president and that all these that they have streamlined. But that because the president traveled, that he's going to be coming back by weekend, that we should give him extra 2 weeks. We told him no, that we don't have further 2 weeks to give anymore. That for us, we thought that as we are coming to this meeting today, that you are going to give us explicit feedback. So he now appealed that the president will most likely be back by weekend, and that by next week, even before the FEC we hold, that there's going to be pronouncement. But that there may not be pronouncement in everything, but that there's going to be pronouncement on some of the quick wins, in addition to whatsoever the president has said before. Because we also told him that today, if you look at Abuja, for example, all the federal workers in Abuja, how are they coming to work? People in Abuja, someone today in Abuja that earns about 120,000 naira, for example, lives in the outskirts, lives in Lugbe, lives in Yayan, lives in Maraba, and at the end of the day, this person spends nothing less than 60 to 70,000 naira of its earnings on transport. That, okay, what are you doing in this regard? Then also on issues regarding private sector as well, what are you also doing? So they said that the president is going to make a broad-based announcement sometime next week, and that they believe that when that announcement is done, that our feelings will be assuaged. Because initially they said we should give them 2 weeks. We said no, we can't give 2 weeks. But they now said when the president comes, that there is going to be an announcement. So after they put that on the table, we now said, okay, that we are going to meet, you know, at our NAC, and we will do all this review. We'll meet as early as tomorrow. We will do all the review. Then we'll come out with a concrete position on the way forward.
So in essence, the TUC has given the federal government 1 more week. That means that the strike, which could have held as a matter of tomorrow, is no more holding. Am I correct?
No, we never said we are going to strike on tomorrow. We never said we were going to strike tomorrow. The earlier meeting we had, government begged for 2 weeks. We said, okay, let's wait and see what happened in the 2 weeks. So there was no release that was done by TUC that we were embarking on strike tomorrow. So now they have also said that when the president comes back by weekend, that by next week there will be pronouncement. But we said that on our part, we rejected it. We told them that they should give, that we want solution now. Because initially they said 2 weeks, we rejected, so they now came back to about 1 week. But we are going to meet tomorrow at the point of NAC, and we will do the review and come up with a definite position.
So, comrade, once upon a time, and I'm talking a matter of months ago, the NLC and the TUC met with the president as organized labor. That term had gained a lot of traction, but that's not the case anymore. Has organized labor now become disorganized, now having separate meetings with the federal government?
Yes, I think I later watched the program yesterday when my counterpart granted interview as well. And I said there is, trying to paraphrase him now, that there is no organization as organized labor. Yes, as much as there is nobody that is, there is no association or institution that is recognized as or registered as organized labor, but the terms organized labor is what is used all over the world. So for us in TUC, we strongly feel that it is always better when we work together. It is always better when we synergize, because government all over the world, even state government, subnationals, they are all coming together. You can look at Nigeria, the issues of governors forum. You could look at even nations are coming together. Look at the EU, look at the AU, look at the ECOWAS and all that. So even if locally here we cannot form synergy, then it's too bad. So for us, clearly, we strongly believe that we are always better together in any which way we look at it. From different sides of the coin, it is always better for us to work together. Then in terms of organized labor being disorganized, I wouldn't say that for a fact, because at the end of the day, like as I have said when I was in this program about a month ago, that our aim remains the same. What is that our aim? Our aim is about our membership, our aim is about the downtrodden Nigerian workers. So, but at times, we could have different strategy of getting there, but the bottom line is for us to get to that desired goal. How do we protect the interests of our members? How do we enhance the welfare of our members? How do we ensure that whenever this kind of government policies comes, our members, in a way, are shielded? So that is the broad-based aim, and for us, we are extremely committed to that. Yes, I understand, during the interview yesterday, when some questions were asked about the last strike, so the response was that a strike we did not call, we backed out. No, we never backed out from the strike we did not call. Literally, the way it always works is that when one body is planning for an action, you have to reach out to the other body. You reach out to them and you have a conversation. And both bodies will sit down and have a plan. Both parts will sit down and have a strategy. In that plan, there are a lot of things that are looked at. You define your clear-cut strategy. You define the timing. You define how you are going to isolate the downtrodden Nigerians. So all these things are defined before both parties will now come and announce a strike action. But in this case, I can authoritatively tell you that TUC was never contacted in any way. It was the same way Nigerians saw it in the media that there was a warning strike on so day. So when we saw it, we were amazed. And we were never contacted, we were never consulted. So at the end of the day, because as a body, when such thing comes out, our members, we start asking, are we going to join this strike? What is happening? So in our organs, TUC, we have the NAC, the National Administrative Council. We have the Central Working Committee, the CWC. We also have the NEC. So we have various WhatsApp platforms. So our members started asking questions. What is the position of TUC on this? So we now said that we weren't aware. Some of our officers were detailed to follow up, but there was no clear-cut response. So at the end of the day, we now had our organ meetings. So in that, our organ meetings, we extracted the issues from the beginning till the end. We extracted the issues, we looked at the issues of the timing, we looked at the issue of the strategy, we looked at everything holistically. So after looking at it, then TUC now felt that it's not time for TUC to go on strike.
Right.
You renege when there is a plan. So if both parties agree to do something, and one party now said, no, I'm no longer doing, that is when you backtrack. But because at the end of the day, there wasn't any forum whereby we sat down to have any conversation that this is the way to go. Because that is how it has been done in the past.
Well, Comrade Osifo, let me come in here quickly.
Sorry, let me round up with this, Kayode. We needed to communicate to our members by telling them that this is the position of TUC. So we did not tell them, it is not a reneging, but it is something that we communicate to our members, because if we don't communicate and our members don't go to work, they may be queried and they may be sanctioned. So that was how that communication came. And if you read that communication, you'll see that there was nowhere that NLC was even mentioned in any way. But we said that our members should go to work.
So clearly, there's a breakdown in communication. The TUC and the NLC are not on the same page. But for the benefit of our viewers, let's listen to some part of what the NLC president said on the program yesterday. So take a listen to Comrade Ajero, and we'll come back for more.
The two organizations are independent, although one is the foremost, labor center. And in international labor organization or any meeting, the foremost and the union with the highest worker representative leads. Even in ILO, we must take TUC along. So if we couldn't agree again on issues, we can meet separately with the government and table our matters. And from what you can see from our last warning strike, you see that we can go it alone. But on this issue, if the TUC say that the subsidy removal, does not affect their members, and then NLC say it affects their members, you see that each one will pursue it in their own way. TUC may have a way they are pursuing theirs, and NLC has a way they are pursuing theirs. What is important is for us to achieve, the aim for which the trade union organization is set up. Yeah, we can work independently, we can work jointly when we agree. But we will not, the NLC will not take under our watch if we give a strike notice, and then a union that didn't give a strike notice say they are backing out of a strike that they didn't call for. So every union can give their strike notice. TUC can give their strike notice and go ahead with their notice. NLC can give their strike notice and go ahead with their notice. But if TUC gives their strike notice, NLC will not come out. You say that they are not part of it, or they didn't even say they were part of it. So those are things that are being streamlined now, and I think that maybe the ministry is enjoying it.
So a couple of issues raised there, and I'd like to get your response immediately, Comrade Osifo. So he described NLC as a foremost union, naturally takes the lead. The TUC should follow. And he said that, well, this is like the TUC trying to reap where it did not sow. You did not declare strike, you went to negotiate. And I wonder what your response is to those ones. We'll take on the other issues, but let me get your response first.
Okay. Before I respond to him, let me quickly state something. So I doubled today, by the grace of God, as the president of Pengasan. So in the oil and gas industry, in the core oil and gas, you have lots of members in Pengasan, even much more than Nupeng. But there is no decision I take that I don't consult with Nupeng president. We are always on the same page on every issue. That is how leadership works. Leadership is not by ego. Leadership is not by grandstanding. So if you come to Pengasan and Nupeng, you see we have joint releases. We pursue issues strategically together. So coming back to what he said, that NLC is bigger and TUC should tag along. No, that is not how it works. I'm sorry, sir. Both parties must always sit down to discuss. If you look at what he said, that if this time we cannot agree, what does that mean? How do you reach agreement? You must discuss before reaching agreement. But if there was no discussion, then there is no zone of possible agreement in any way. So there wasn't discussion. Then he said TUC will be carried along. Ask, how did he carry TUC along in this path? Before he declared the strike, did he reach out? He spoke to the Secretary General of TUC a day or two before that day. Did he tell him, okay, after that day, did he also reach out to the Secretary General or any other officers in TUC to say, how do we move on? So how do you carry along? Is it by sitting down and fine-tuning everything and think you have the strategy to go ahead? That is clearly not how it works. He also said that they have the strength to carry on. There is none of us that does not have the strength to carry on. By the grace of God, as I said earlier, I'm the president of Pengasan. If we shut down the entire landscape of the oil and gas industry today, the country will collapse. So, and Pengasan is an affiliate of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. Today, we have Association of Senior Civil Servants. They constitute, both at the federal and state level, over 70 to 80% of the workforce, of the bureaucrats. They are members of Association of Senior Civil Servants, who by extension are members of TUC. If we take that our strength on, we can also make a lot of impact. We have over 30 trade unions affiliated to Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. So it is not about strength. It is not about grandstanding. Any of us can do it alone. But the bottom line is that we are always better together. Because if they are aggregating forces together, we shouldn't segregate. So for us, we don't think that there is no part or there is no party that cannot do it alone. But the effectiveness is what matters. So there is nothing compared to synergy. So I listened to what my colleague said clearly, but he should know that that is not how we have been doing it. When you want to do this, both parties must sit down to look at the plan. Both parties must sit down to look at the strategy, because strategy is very key in all industrial action. Let me quickly state this. For example, you want to carry out an industrial action. First of all, you look at it. who are the people that I'm targeting? Okay, I want government to listen to me. So you must fine-tune the timing. So the timing is key, number one. Then number two as well, in also going into any strike action, you must also look at a lot of other issues bordering on, okay, I'm going on strike. This strike is to protect the masses. If I'm going on strike to protect the masses, what will I do to ensure that the masses are protected? For example, if I close down the hospital in the country, who goes to the hospital?
All right,
who goes to
just
the
a moment.
It's actually the downtrodden Nigerians.
All right, Comrade Osifo, just a moment. Pardon me to butt in here.
Have opportunity to go to the private hospital. So strategy is key.
For those thinking that the government has succeeded in breaking the ranks of labor, now they're singing, or labor is singing discordant tunes. No more organized labor as they thought. They say a divided house cannot stand. Can two work together except they agree? So is this indeed the government breaking your ranks, divide and rule, and they think that you have lent yourself to that?
No. If the government think that they have broke the ranks of labor, I think they should have a rethink, because that is not correct. You know, like as I have said, one industrial union that belongs to TUC or one industrial union in NLC can actually call government to come to table. Like as I have told you, NUPENG, for example, NUPENG belongs to NLC. If NUPENG wants to shut down this country today, they have the capacity to do that. Pengasan, for example, belong to TUC. If Pengasan wants to shut down the entire country today, there is the ability and capacity to do that. So if government think that this is breaking rank of labor, I think they should have a rethink, because that is not the reality. Because at the end of the day, like as I have said previously, our goal is the same. What is our goal? How do we achieve the best for Nigerians? So if I strongly, or if TUC, for example, strongly believe that the best way forward is to keep pushing government, having conversations with them, and proposing solutions to them, we will continuously do that. I can tell you that since this subsidy has been removed, the gains that TUC has made, the traction that TUC has made, because we don't just hold meetings in the flash of the media and we go back to our cocoons and be sleeping. No, after those meetings, for example, after today's meeting, we will not go to rest. I've stated it at a time in this program that if you see the MOU, for example, that was signed between NNPC and NIPCO, TUC played a very strong role in that. We did not come to the media to start jumping. No, we did our due diligence. We met NNPC management and we pushed them and encouraged them to sign that agreement with NIPCO. Because when you talked about the issue of CNG, you know, people come around and say CNG, oh, there was an agreement with government in the past that government will deploy CNG in 3 months. I beg to differ. I mean, maybe those are some of the ideological differences that we are having. As a mechanical and petroleum engineer of about 20 years standing, I understand clearly what the issues around CNG is. Likewise, a lot of my members, they understand as well. Because at the end of the day, you will realize that you can buy all the kits in the world to retrofit your cars. It's just like you driving a petrol car and there is no petrol stations for you to refill. It's a problem. So the issue is not about the kit to the cars, but the issue at the end of the day is the CNG infrastructure. Because today, if you go to most states in Nigeria, over 30 states in Nigeria has no single CNG infrastructure. So if we are fixated on what are the kits government should bring, what are the kits government should get, if some of us are fixated on that, I'm sorry, that is not the strategy. But in 2020, when government proposed, then I wasn't president of TUC. When it was proposed by Timi Silva that in 3 months that they are going to get CNG across the length and breadth of the country, I met the then TUC president and I told him that is a lie, that this is not true, that it is not doable, because I am not a labor leader who will sign an agreement that I know that is not implementable, because it can never work. Now, if you want to fix CNG, what you do, first of all, is that you need to create hub across different parts of the country. And to create hub is not done one day. After you have created the hubs, you now need to think, how can you get CNG there? So if you want to transport it as LNG, then when you now get it there, you compress it. I mean, all this takes a lot of careful planning into it.
But
it's not something that can be done in just 3 months. So we have stated this. That was why in the agreement with...
if you can hear me, pardon me. So he says it's taking too long. 2020, yes. 2021, 2022, we're in 2023. And the target looks like it will come into fruition fully in 2024. A point he made, which I'd like you to speak to as well, is that for Labour, the NLC particularly, they have found a way to get the conversion way cheaper than what the federal government is proposing. And for him, he says that the money should instead be given to the NLC so they can, you know, undertake that project, which he says is way cheaper than what the federal government is proposing. Are you on the same page on that one as well?
Okay. No, Kayode, we are not on the same page on that. And that is one of the fundamental differences we have. As TUC, we are not contractors. Our function is to hold federal government accountable and ensure that they do what is right. We don't want federal government to give us any money for us to go and carry out, to go and buy kits. Because part of the reason is also this. The fact that it's not procedurally correct. As Labour, our function is not to collect money from government and go and implement a project. No, our function is to hold government accountable. So we will not delve into that. But if they are also delving into that, I can tell you from where I'm sitting today that it is going to fail. The fact that, because what they are interested in, what they are talking about, are the kits. How can they buy conversion kits? But the question today is not conversion kits. It's just like you have a cooking gas, Kayode, in your house. If you have a cooking gas and you have a cooking cylinder, you have a cylinder attached to it. But at the end of the day, there is no, for you to go and refill your cylinder, maybe you have to travel 300-400 kilometers. So how can that ever work? So as of today, the first thing you need to do is for those cylinder hubs to be situated around various neighborhoods. Once you have situated them around various neighborhoods, before you will now start thinking about the next step on how to get the gas, the cooking gas to your home. So I would submit by saying that as of today, it is about 4 or 5 states that you could see, action items regarding the infrastructures relating to CNG. In a lot of the states today, most especially the states in the north, lot of states in the west, lot of states in the east, you don't have any infrastructure relating to CNG. It's like you having an electric car. When you have an electric car, you are driving it. But there is nowhere, there are no plugs, there are no points you could charge your battery. So that is the fundamental issue today. So we are not interested in doing any contract as far as TUC is concerned. We are ready to always hold government accountable for them to do what is right. Then I will end here, Kayode, by saying that, yes, it is true. We totally agree. I've been in your station severally where we stated that government did not have a thorough plan before they went ahead with the subsidy removal. We have said that countless number of times. There was no thorough plan because a lot of these things needed to have been put in place before you go ahead to remove subsidy. Because today, clearly, Nigerians are suffering. But for us, the lot of interventions that we have made from TUC, we have made to Nigerian Governors Forum, we have had a lot of interaction with government officials, trying to push them to do what is right. A lot of our conversations and interaction even play some role to some of the palliatives that are being rolled out. So we don't fold our arm and go to bed. No, we work on a daily basis to ensure that the Nigerian masses are taken care of.
So let's progress on this and now take a look at the demands that you have put on the table. Well, the Minister of Labour, through the ministry, put out a statement earlier talking about some of the issues for resolution. So we'll just take a look at them and know what you're asking for, what it is that you cannot go beyond or below, so Nigerians know exactly what the issues are. So the first one is a wage award for federal civil servants to cushion the effect of rising poverty among them. The NLC has spoken about its own percentage wage award. Are you asking for the same thing? Are you asking for more? And what is the government telling you that it can afford?
Clearly, our initial position, if you look at the first document that we have submitted to government, we were thinking, because of the interactions we had, the government said that they were ready to, even if there was an aspiration to the minimum wage next year, but that they were ready to have a conversation on the minimum wage now, and that they were ready to bring the tripartite, the NECA, both government, state government, and the labor to the table for us to close it out. So we were pushing on that. But again, our counterpart came that, okay, let's drive the issue of wage award. We said, okay, for us to work together, no problem. We kept driving the issue of wage award. We also have some reservations regarding that but let's leave that for now. But overall, as where we are today, all the conversations we have had is government should come out and pronounce wage award. Just as you know, when you say award, award is an award. We can make input. We can push. If it's minimum wage negotiation, our input is stronger because as labor, we can have a position. But when it is wage award, the word award is the award giver that will determine what the finality will be. We will make several inputs. So as of today, we are telling government to give us nothing less than 300% of the minimum wage as wage award. But that is asking. But we will not, it is their prerogative to not determine what it should be. But for us, we felt that we could have achieved minimum wage in the last 3 months because even when it's expiring next year, but we could have achieved it. But after conversation, the wage award became prominent. But our reservation was that the award giver is the person that determines the award is going to give. That was why we were towing that line at the beginning.
So 300%.
For us, we have told government that in terms of this wage award, we want them to do something about 300% around minimum wage. But it is for them to not tell us what they are giving before we go ahead
300%
into issues about minimum wage.
So 300%, if I get you correctly, will be how much specifically?
Yes, if you find 300% of 30, that should give you something about 90 to 120,000. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a major departure between Labour, NLC. I mean, a lot of people still describe NLC and TUC as Labour, but clearly we have to be specific now. NLC is talking about wage award. You believe it should be minimum wage, but ultimately, do you think government can afford it? If it can, where do you expect government to draw money from to afford 300% minimum wage increase?
Yes. So when you put your demand out there, we from Labour as well, we understand clearly that when you put your demand, you don't expect government to meet it 100%. But if you start from your barest minimum, you cannot achieve any traction. So that is why when we ask, we go above. But when we not negotiate, it comes down. If you remember the issue of 30,000 minimum wage, where Labour started from, NLC and TUC, it was way ahead of that. But as Labour, you will not come out to now express what your minimum position will be. But where it is backed up much more by law is the issue of minimum wage. That is where we sit down on the table until both parties agrees, you cannot implement. That's a little departure from wage award. I just stated this little difference as one of the issues that came up. But finally, we settled for the wage award so that we'll have a point of convergence. So for us, we have asked that, but it's not left for government to tell us what they can do as well. And we have reasons around what we have asked.
So let's list out the other issues for resolution quickly on the program tonight. So we have talked, and if we just show our viewers, we have talked about the wage award for federal civil servants, and Comrade Osifo has explained the different angles to this one. Now, there's also the tax exemption part of this for a certain level of workers, both in public and private sectors. Now, this one, a lot of people will be interested in. The next one, which talks about putting structures in place to ensure the effective implementation of the palliative declared by the federal government for the state and the FCT. We've seen some activity across states, and for a lot of people, they're still asking, where are the palliatives? We've not gotten them. So I'd like to ask you, Comrade Osifo, I imagine that you have touched base, and yet those are the demands from the TUC now, particularly. I imagine that you've touched base with your members across board. Have they gotten palliatives? Which states have dropped the ball, if there have been any? Which states are doing well? Do you have that information, Comrade Osifo?
Yes. So currently, we are collating that information as we speak. You know, from the TUC angle, we set up a task force across the 6 geopolitical zones. So there are committees across the 6 geopolitical zones that are working with our respective state councils. So you have 6 state councils in one geopolitical zone that are reporting to this committee. So they have sent in their report. So as we speak now, the Secretariat of TUC, the National Secretariat, is currently collating all these. From the initial findings, in 1 or 2 states, they've done a bit well, but in chunk of the other states, they have not done too well. It is because of this that as part of our demand when we had meetings with the Honorable Minister of Labour was that a national task force should be set so that we must ensure that these funds get to the people, because they have released 2 billion. So if 2 billion does not get to the people, what's the need of you releasing the extra 3 billion? So it could be used for something different and it could be used for something else. So we are not just stopping at the federal level. Yes, as national, we are here to interact with the federal government, but we have a structure that we have set up that are currently collating reports. And those states, they are going to be named and shamed. Because for any state that did not do the needful, that we found issue of no transparency, and that they have diverted what is meant for the downtrodden Nigerians, then we are going to take it up on them. We are going to name and shame them. Then in some cases, we will also lead a protest to such states to compel them to do what is right.
So let's wind down, Comrade Osifo. The fourth issue for resolution is the modalities for accessing 70 billion naira proposed for the funding of the micro, small and medium enterprises. You say that the minister told you that, well, he needs to brief the president, who is not expected back into the country until this weekend. What are the options available to you, just in case these resolutions are not met? Because I recall the statement he put out, said, well, some of these issues are immediate, some of them are long-term. So what are the options available to you if NLC were to say, well, Friday has come, because he says that the ultimatum elapses on Friday. He says Friday has come. The executives say, well, we're going on strike. Would you be joining the NLC in solidarity? Because for you, you say you can do better together.
Like as I have said, so it is not an issue for Comrade Festus Osifo, president of TUC, but it is an issue for the organs to review. Like as I have said, we are going to have our NAC conversation tomorrow. Then when we have our NAC conversation tomorrow, we will do the assessment. And when we do the assessment, we will take a definite position. So it's not a one-man show, but it is an institution that needs to sit down and take a definite position. But quickly, you asked earlier the issue relating to taxation. Yes, for us, we feel that if anybody that is earning something above 70, 80, 90,000, why will you go? I mean, that is a direct palliative. If you give them tax holiday, both in public and in private sector, and you exempt them from paying tax, that is a direct exemption, a direct palliative that cannot be misplaced. It's a direct palliative that will go to them, because that tax that they pay, the money at the end of the day, will come directly to their pocket. So that was why we included that as part of our demand. And for us, we are going to review all this by tomorrow. So when we review it by tomorrow, then we will take a definite position as to the way forward, because I cannot categorically state, what we will do moving forward, but we have the organs of TUC. So we are going to start from the National Administrative Council, who will sit down and do all the review.
All right. Would like to thank you so much, Comrade Festus Osifo. Just before we go, have you spoken with Comrade Ajero? Have you guys talked about these differences?
Yes, we always have channel of communication, and we'll continuously communicate. Yeah.
So when was the last time you spoke about this?
Yeah.
When was the last time you spoke about this?
I shouldn't be, Comrade Kayode, I should be telling you this on the national television. But
well, I'm not a
we
comrade.
have the mechanism, and again, in both centers, we have elders. In both centers, we have elders, past presidents, and so on, and they are reaching out. And but trust me that at the end of the day, this will not shortchange the Nigerian people, because we both have the strength to call the government of the day to order.
Because I imagine a lot of Nigerians will want to know, since you say you're fighting for them. But I'd like to thank you so much, Comrade Festus Osifo, the president of the TUC. Thank you for giving us insight into the workings between the federal government and Labour tonight on the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayode. Thank you, Nigeria.